Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Lana.
So we are going to talk about some experts have given a 5-year prediction, and the question is, will the housing market crash? Now, these are not price appreciation predictions. This is not what the percentage increases will be. That's anybody who thinks they can tell you what home prices are going to be in 5 years is completely BS. We only know that home prices go up 3.6 to 3.8% per year on average. That beats inflation. We know this historically. It's always been this way. It's like the thing. Just like some things appreciate, like technology appreciates it less than inflation. Actually depreciates at a higher rate than inflation. But so we're going to talk about some of these things. So they did this report. They wrote this whole report. They called the current housing market abnormal. That's interesting. Because it is true, it's not a normal housing market. It is abnormal.
Abby-normal?
Abby-normal. If you watch Young Frankenstein, it's abby-normal. The authors concluded there is no expectation that fallout from a housing correction would be comparable to the 2007-9 crisis in terms of magnitude.
Okay. So
that is interesting. So it's abnormal, but no one is saying what happened last time is going to happen this time, including us.
Right.
We're not some of the housing market experts that they asked.
Which I can't imagine how we're not.
I'm not. It was probably a mistake. Okay, so we didn't get the Christmas card either.
No, we didn't.
We didn't get it. Okay, why the housing market will likely stay hot? If you were hoping for a major downturn to snag a cheaper home, think again. Most housing experts are predicting the market to remain strong a while for several reasons. Why do you think? Before we go on to the next little comment here, what are some of the reasons why experts are predicting the market to stay strong?
Well, we start with the big elephant in the room, lack of inventory.
Lack of inventory.
And
it's not just selling inventory, it's actually homes.
Right.
It's not people are reluctant to put their house on the market.
That's part of it.
There's a housing shortage. Period, end of story. Housing shortage.
Yes.
Okay? Why did your airline flight get canceled? Probably because there's a pilot shortage. Okay? So that means less flights. That means more fares. Right? Why is it hard to buy a house? Because there's not as many of them and there's more money chasing less houses. And any time in an economic system when you have more money chasing less things, you have that, you call it appreciation, you call it increase in price, but it's just price increases. It costs more. That's how markets work. Markets work better than physics. Like literally, they work better than physics.
So we're going to have some physicists out there just dispute that.
I know. I can see it now.
Please put that in the comments because I'm going to find that absolutely
If you're a
delicious.
physicist, then don't leave us any comments.
No, please do. I'd love to read them.
I have an MBA. I never got a physics degree. I did take physics in college because I have a Bachelor of Science, but I wasn't a physicist. Okay. But I can tell you right now that market forces are pretty strong. But I will say this. If you think that physics are a more powerful force than home ownership, how much rent income do you collect a month from like that physics problem you just solved? Probably not very, very much, right? So market forces pay money and physicists just write papers.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So we're going to go through some of the reasons. Okay, first of all, millennial demand for housing is up. Now the millennials are 24 to late 30s, okay? And right behind them are these guys called Gen Z. Gen Z predominantly are children some of them are children of Gen Xers still. Some of them are the baby boomers' children, the younger baby boomers, their kids. They benefit from a couple ways. The millennials predominantly really went to college. These guys were the benefits of boomers who didn't get a chance to go to college saying, I'm going to save for my kid's college. And then my kid's going to college. So what did the kid do? The kid went to college. And you can argue whether you thought their whatever they majored in was reasonable or not. But the millennials make a ton of money. I know some millennials who make well over six figures. They make six-figure, late 20s, making a ton of money, and they have a lot of economic freedom because they went to college. A lot of them didn't have debt because parents paid for it, right? They are a powerhouse generation that is entering the housing market, they weren't here during the housing crash. They were still kids for the most part, or they were just maybe at the end of the crash starting to buy houses. We'll follow them with these Gen Z people. And they're looking to be in a similar situation because the Gen Z people have all had the same phenomenon happen that the millennials had. They had college paid for, probably. A lot of them went to college, and they're going to benefit from not only generational wealth, but they're going to benefit from their skill because they're not coming into the workforce like we're in Vegas, right? So when you graduate high school, what were kids doing for jobs predominantly? This is Reno.
Right, so this is Reno. So they were going in the service industries.
Service industry, right. So in Reno, what was that? Like, what could you, like, do you remember kids, like what kind of jobs they got, like predominantly?
Right, so predominantly they, just like in Vegas they would have gotten jobs on the Strip. In Reno, they would have gotten jobs in the hospitality industry.
Okay, yeah. So they went and they parked cars. They worked at the buffet. They just got labor jobs. They didn't require any college. They could easily get a job. The job paid okay. It wasn't the worst in the world, right?
Right.
Hospitality jobs actually pay more than like the low end, like janitor, right? Because if you work in hospitality, like in a casino and stuff, like even in a restaurant and stuff, you tend to get tip income, like if you're a cook or you're a busboy, right?
Right. I mean, hospitality jobs paid better than the money that I made after I had a bachelor's degree from a university, because I came into an entry-level job and I didn't make very much money, and hospitality jobs paid better than my job did. Right.
When I was in high school, kids were getting, it was parking cars and doing stuff, and all they were trying to do was bridge the gap between graduating high school and age 21. So they go to dealer school and get their license. They would the entry-level job in Vegas at the time was dealing blackjack. It's a job nobody wanted. The other table games and casino jobs were much more lucrative. Blackjack's a harder game because you're dealing all the time and you're having to count. You're having to do math, right? You're having to collect cards, so it's more work. And you're having to figure out the bets and make sure that you do the right thing, like so you're actually having to work a little harder. But they still, back then it paid pretty well, right?
Right.
These kids today are like data scientists. They're like, hey, they're writing code. They have apps in the App Store, right? Like when I was a kid, nobody in my high school had an app in the App Store. Not anybody.
But I think it's because the App Store didn't exist.
The App Store didn't exist, but still, if they were that good, they would have had an app in the App Store. And it's funny because these generations are they're definitely better educated from a technology and what's more, even though you can say whatever you want about them, right? Because I know older people tend to look at younger people and go, oh my gosh, like what are they thinking, right? Because of social stuff.
They can't make change.
They can't make change, but they can, they understand how technology works and they take advantage of it. They're actually very good at that. Okay.
Yes.
We won't see a downturn because the housing market saw a little increase in inventory for the past 10 years. That's first of all.
Right.
No new homes. Okay. The least number of homes built since what decade?
The Great Depression.
The 1930s. The Great Depression. We've had the same number of homes built in the last 10 years as the Great Depression. Every year, every decade since then, far more homes built. Right. So we have this huge shortage. In a few years, Gen Z will be turning 30 and more financially ready to become homeowners than millennials were at their age, says Polina Ryshikov, Senior Director of Research and Lead Economist at Sunday. She just get married? Or she needed to pick her. That's probably her maiden name. Sorry, Polina. But it's a beautiful name. I just can't pronounce it. You wouldn't have been able to pronounce her name before getting married. Actually, most people can't pronounce her first name now because they don't know how to pronounce Juana. The Director of Research and Lead Economist at Sunday, a real estate marketplace for distressed properties, their startup. This means the demand for homes will be high, if not higher, while inventory will still be behind in demand. So what they're saying is, when you look down the road and you look at Gen Z, they're going to be better than millennials. And the millennials right now are the people, remember we told you this, the millennials are the people who have already bought and sold a house, and they're already, they're predominantly using real estate agents, right? And they're this like big force driving the housing market right now, the millennials.
And they're definitely data junkies. They interview lots of agents. They look for homes in lots of different sources. They're definitely trying to make sure that that they get it right.
And a lot of you, I know, you're millennials. You're watching
Right.
this. So the number of potential home buyers is plentiful, with Americans who are either millennial age or younger making half the U.S. population, or 166 million. So think about this. Over half the population of the U.S. is millennial aged or younger. We're talking under 40.
So these people are people who either don't own homes or just have a starter home. So that's a lot of people who are going to want to buy a house.
These are future homeowners.
Right. These are a lot of people who are going to want to buy a house. What house are they going to buy? Because we simply cannot put up homes fast enough for these people. We don't have the materials. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the urban planning. I mean, it takes a lot to put up home. It's not that simple as, oh, there's a plot of land, let's put up a house. Remember, all of these homes, for the most part, are going up in some sort of an urban area. Even if it's a small town, it still takes urban planning to get all the licensing, to get all the permits, to get all that done. All of this takes time. And these people want a home, and they want it now.
Another thing that they said was supply can't keep up with demand. Mm-hmm. The severely low supply has also helped me fuel demand and higher home prices, which is another reason why housing experts say the market will remain strong for years to come.
Yep. So if you have an opportunity to get a house and you don't have to compete for it, and maybe it's at or under market value, I'm not suggesting that you buy it. I'm suggesting you give us a call, and we'll see what we can work out.
Now, in a balanced market, the months of supply would be around 6 months. This time, the time it would take to deplete all homes on that, we use that quote all the time. That's a historic, like real estate agents have known this for years, that 6 months is a normal market, right?
Right.
Back in the downturn, we had like 26,000 houses on the market, but we were only going to do like 30,000 sales that year. We had almost a year of inventory. Actually, in high rises, there were 4 years of inventory.
Right.
Because high rises, homes values tanked so much and people couldn't buy high rises. You had to buy cash. There was no financing a lot of the buildings. We had 4 years of supply. I have a video that we did from like 11 years ago that you can probably go. I'm not going to go through all the videos and put a link to it because we have over 800. We have 800 now or something. What we'll do is when we do the 1,000th video, we'll have a big party or something. We'll have all of you in our studio, and because we have a huge team here at Talk About Houses. We have lighting people, sound people, makeup, script writers, production staff. We have this huge staff of people that editors, that researchers that get all the data. There's probably
Don't forget somebody who does my hair.
Somebody who has to do on his hair, and all this. They coach us and stuff. We have people that buy us clothes to wear, and we have all these. This is huge team organization here. We'll introduce you to everybody.
Yes.
But the market only has 1.7 months of supply. That is the nationwide. It's less in Vegas. In other markets, it's obviously more than it is here. It's really, really low here.
Yes.
It's super low. That's fine. It will take time to reduce the housing stock debt we have accumulated. Now, what this doesn't mean is, this doesn't mean mortgage debt. This doesn't mean debt owned on homes. It's housing stock debt, meaning it's the difference between the number of homes we need and what we don't have.
Right.
It's the loss. It's that hole where we don't have homes that we need. It's going to take a long time for that to get back to equilibrium.
Right. So it's the shortage of houses.
The imbalance will continue to put upward pressure on home prices, even if they moderate from the peak of growth set 2020. So even if homes start to falter or prices whatever, until we fix the problem of not enough homes, we have a problem.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to take a long time to fix, like I said, because it's something that has so many steps and so many moving parts. It cannot be solved overnight, and it cannot be solved short term.
Here's another huge thing. We have hit on this a ton. Borrowers are less likely to default on their mortgages than they were 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. Among the difference between today's housing market and the 2008 crash is that lending standards are tighter due to lessons learned and new regulations enacted after the last crisis. Mm-hmm. Essentially, that means those approved for mortgage nowadays are less likely to default than those who were approved in the pre-crisis lending period.
Right. So that means that people had to put down a higher down payment so that they actually have some skin in the game, so they don't want to default. The other thing is that they're not over borrowing, which means that they're not borrowing more than the house is worth, so that when they do have to sell the house, there is equity in the house to be able to sell it. They don't have to do a short sale or anything like that.
There was more than $1 trillion in new mortgage originations in the fourth quarter of 2021, with 67% of those, that's 2/3, with credit scores exceeding 760.
Wow.
That score is considered very good according to FICO. Is that amazing?
It is amazing.
So the people with good credit are buying houses. These are not the people that were, would you remember what the lowest credit score, was it 520 you could buy a house?
It was pretty low. But to give you an idea, I actually got an email from a builder today, and they were letting me know what homes they have in standing inventory, which wasn't very much. And they said, your buyer can come in and purchase these homes so long as their credit score is at least 750.
750.
So, so when lenders are saying, hey, we're not even looking at you unless you have a 750 credit score or better, these are people with great credit. And usually when people have a credit score that's above 750, they have some cash behind them. They have a good job that probably has some longevity to it and that sort of thing. So that makes them a much more stable home buyer, makes them much less likely to need to default on that purchase.
And just like anything else, when prices go up and home prices go up because of the excess demand, the mortgage industry looks at that too and says, hey, if we've got a ton of people getting loans, let's just skim off the best people. The people we believe statistically are a lower risk.
Right, because remember, there aren't that many houses to buy. There are more than enough people at 750 or better, so they're good to go. They're not missing out on any transactions.
The final recommendation they had, what home buyers should do.
Okay.
Home buyers are faced with tough choices in today's market, right? No kidding. There's nobody out there today. Matter of fact, probably half the people that watch the blog are trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Predictions indicate the home prices will continue to rise and new home construction will continue to lag behind. What does that say to you when new home construction is lagging?
Not enough inventory is going to be built to meet the demand.
Yeah, putting buyers in tight housing situations for the foreseeable future.
Well, take a look at today, probably the same thing tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll reiterate what I said before. I was put on the spot. I was asked, okay, what you always say it's a good time to buy. That is not true. If you would listen to our radio show back in 2006, we had live real estate talk radio, and much of my blog, 2000 when I started, I think we started in 2008 or 9. Back then it was called Todd Miller TV. And everything. It's fun. You should watch some of these super old episodes. You won't recognize me. I had hair and I was younger and everything. I even watched it and goes, who is this guy on my show? Oh, that's me. I was asked when would be a terrible time to buy? When's a bad time to buy? And my answer is any time in the future is going to be a terrible time to buy compared to now. Right?
Right.
And any time in the past was probably a better time to buy than now. Because no matter what, it's like the tide. The tide goes in, the tide goes out, you can't stop it. It's just going to keep doing that. Home prices have been going up at 3.8% a year forever. Beating inflation forever. It's not like that's not a bubble. They've been doing that for 70 plus years.
Right.
It's likely to continue.
And with inflation being high right now, that appreciation is going to be even more, even regardless of what's going on in the inventory.
And if you take into account the inflation, 8%, and then you take into account the normal appreciation of homes, the home prices aren't really that overpriced.
No.
They're not that overpriced.
Well, and considering that, everybody out there is trying to buy a house and you've got multiple offers, just getting a house right now, you're probably doing okay.
All right. So if you made it to the end of the video, please subscribe, notification bell. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. If you watch this, because we know some of you like leave us comments all the time and talk about the stuff. But like if you see something that you're not really sure of, like, hey, why is this or why is that? Let us know what you're thinking. Because most people who watch this are pretty educated. Because you're probably watching us and you're probably watching a couple other people to kind of get a feel for what's going on. And then sometimes hopefully you're watching the people. We had somebody who was watching And they said they actually made a post on one of the people who said the market would crash saying, hey, I'm going to come back to you in like 6 months, and if the market doesn't crash, I'm going to call you out on it because you're saying it's going to crash like immediately, like it's imminent or whatever, right? But we don't see any, like if we thought it was going to crash, we'd make a video saying the market's going to crash. It's going to crash. And then we tell you to list your house with us really fast. Like, let's sell the house and get out of it. You get your cash before the market collapses, right?
Right.
But if we saw that, that's what we do, but we don't see any of that. So they'll leave us a comment, and what else?
See you in the next video.
Hey.
Bye.
Bye.